Hi everybody! Today we're going to be talking about what I consider one of music theory's best kept secrets, and that is the circle of fifths. Now if you're thinking to yourself, that's not a secret, I see this all the time, just you wait. I have so much to talk about that we're actually not even going to do this all in one video. I've decided to separate this into multiple videos, a whole series about the circle of fifths and how to use it as a student, as a performer, and as a composer. And I'm really excited, so let's get started. The first thing we need to do is figure out how to build the circle of fifths. So we're going to start here with our circle, and you can see that there are 12 spots in our circle just like a clock. The 12 spots on our circle represent the 12 major keys. And at the bottom, we're going to have some enharmonic keys, so technically there are 15 that we're going to put on this circle, but for right now, just think 12. Now to fill in the circle, we actually need to know the order of sharps and the order of flats. Now I know I'm actually skipping a step here. You really should already know these. If you don't, you should check out my other video on how to build major scales, and we'll talk about why the sharps and the flats go in this order, because there is a reason, and I'll explain all of that in the other video. But for right now, let's just assume that you know the order of sharps. So the order of sharps is going to be F, C, G, D, A, E, B. You might want to have an acronym or something to help you remember this. When I was younger, my piano teacher taught me the phrase, "Fat cats go down alleys eating bananas," but you don't have to use that. You could use whatever acronym you want. The order of flats is going to be exactly the same but backwards. So it's going to be B, E, A, D, G, C, F. And again, that little acronym that I learned growing up was bead, glass, cuts, fingers. But I know a lot of people use other acronyms, and that's great. Whatever works for you is great. So right at the top of the circle of fifths, we're going to start with C, because C major has 0 sharps and 0 flats. This is called the circle of fifths because as we go to the right, each new key that we're going to fill in is going to be the 5th scale degree of whatever key we were in before. So we're starting in the key of C right at the top, and we're going to count up 5 notes. So C, D, E, F, G. G is going to be our next key that we're going to fill here on the right. If we go another one, we would go G, A, B, C, D, and D is going to be our next one. As we go around the circle, each key is going to add another sharp. So the key of G is going to have 1 sharp, F sharp, because that's the first sharp in the order of sharps. The next key, or D, would have 2 sharps, or F and C. And as we go around the circle, we have to remember to include those sharps as we count up the scale. So if we're counting up to the next 5th note, it would be D, E, F sharp, because that's going to be included in the key signature G, A. And so A is going to be the next key right here in this 3rd spot. As we go to the left of the circle, we're actually going to count down 5 notes instead of up. So we're going to start on C and count backwards. C, B, A, G, F. F will be the next key in the circle on the left side. And that's going to add 1 flat, because all of the keys on the left side are going to be flats, all the keys on the right side are going to be sharps. Now when we count backwards from F, remember that we have to include the B flat. So we're going to start on F and go F, E, D, C, B flat, and that B flat is going to be our next key here on the circle. So to make things go a little bit faster, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the circle for us. You can see here, now that we have our circle all filled in, these are all the major keys. We can see the key signatures. We can also see down at the bottom, there are 3 keys that overlap. We have both sharp and flat versions of them. Those are what we call the enharmonic keys. So I told you there's actually 15 instead of 12. That's why we've got these 3 enharmonic keys. And really it's just because C sharp and D flat are the same note. On the piano, they look the same, they sound the same. The only difference really is how they look on the page. Now you want to be able to fill in the circle of fifths really quickly, and to do this, we can use the order of sharps and the order of flats. If you look at the circle starting from F, all of the keys on the sharp side follow the order of sharps. So you can see right here, we have F, C, G, D, A, E, B. Fat cats go down alleys eating bananas. If you start right after the F on the B flat side, they follow the order of flats. So we have B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, and we would have F flat except for we don't use the enharmonic of E. There's no such thing as an F flat key, so we're going to leave that one off. But the rest of them all follow the order of sharps and the order of flats. Okay, so now that we finished the outside of the circle, now we have to look at the inside of the circle. The inside of the circle are going to be the minor keys. So if we look at the top of the circle, we're now starting with the minor key that has 0 sharps and 0 flats, just like C major, but now the minor version. Now we can talk about how to build a minor key in another video, that's for another time, but for right now, let's just tell you the minor key always comes from the 6th scale degree of the major key. So if we start on C and we count up 6, so C, D, E, F, G, A, we're going to end up on A. That's going to be our minor key that has 0 sharps and 0 flats. So right here at the top of the circle, I'm going to put in an A. The inside of the circle of fifths follows the same rules as the outside. So as we go to the right, we're going to count up 5 notes in the scale. As we go to the left, we're going to count backwards 5 notes in the scale. So if I start on A minor and I count up 5 notes, we've got A, B, C, D, E. So E is going to be our next minor key on the circle of fifths. If we go backwards, we would start on A and go A, G, F, E, D. So D is going to be the next scale on the left of the circle. Again, I'm going to make this faster just by filling it in for you. So here we go. Now, as you look at the outside of the circle with the majors and the inside of the circle with the minors, you can start to see some patterns. The outside of the circle and the inside of the circle are basically the same, but shifted over 3 spots. So A is over here, the 3rd spot over, that has 3 sharps in the major side, but on the minor side, it's shifted over to the left 3 spots and it has no sharps or flats. It's up at the top. So how is this helpful to you? This becomes really helpful when you're just trying to know the scale of a piece. So you're trying to think, okay, I'm in 3 sharps, what is that? That's going to be either A major or F sharp minor. Now how we determine which one it is, we can talk about that in another video too, but for right now, just know it's going to be one of those. We can also take a look at the relative keys and the parallel keys. We'll talk about this more in my next video when we start talking about how to use the circle of fifths to compose. But just as an introduction, relative keys are going to be the keys that share a key signature. So C major and A minor are on the same spot on the circle. Those are going to be our relative keys. Parallel keys are going to be keys that share the same tonic but aren't on the same spot in the circle. So for example, C major and C minor, they're not on the same spot in the circle, but they have the same tonic. They both would have C as your main note. And so we call those parallel keys. Once we have the circle all filled in, we can also use it to figure out triads. Again, I'm not going to go in depth here about how to build a triad, but I do want to show you a really cool trick because all of our major and minor triads can be found on the circle. If we start at C, every triad is going to have a root note, a 5th above that note, and a 3rd above that note. Well, on the circle of fifths, we can see the notes in the major triad. So if we start up here at C and we go over 1, we're going to go to the 5th. So C and G are 5 notes apart. They're a 5th apart. And then to get the 3rd, we just have to go down a 3rd from G, and that's going to be the E. So C, E, G are going to be the notes in my C major triad. And this works with all of them. So I could go over to the A flat triad and start with A flat. That's going to be my root note. C is going to be the middle note or the 3rd of the triad, and E flat is going to be my 5th. It's all right there. For minor triads, we're just going to go backwards. So if I go back to the top of the circle and I start with A minor, if I go up to the C, that's going to be the 3rd of my chord, and then if I jump down to the E, down on the minor side, that's going to be the 5th of my chord. And so now I have my minor triad, A, C, E. And again, that works with anywhere on the circle. If you started with, say, F sharp, you can see F sharp, A, C sharp. I'm hoping you're starting to see how useful the circle of fifths can be, but we're just scratching the surface right now. If all you can do is use the circle of fifths for what we've talked about today, you're already doing really awesome, and this is already an incredible tool to use. But there's still so much more. So you're definitely going to want to check out my other videos in this playlist to see how else you can use the circle of fifths to improve your study of music and how to write and perform better music yourself.